What if the movies you loved growing up were quietly training you to accept less? Less power, less credit, less rest? What if your favorite rom-coms were teaching you that no means keep trying, and that your value comes from how accommodating you can be? Today, we're talking about the stories we absorbed without knowing it. Groundhog Day, Three Men and a Baby, Miss Congeniality, and how they still echo when we walk into a lawyer's office, a hospital room, or a family conversation about the future. We'll talk about estate planning, consent, caregiving, and why so many women feel like the family CEO, but without the title, the pay, or the support. This isn't just a breakdown of old films, it's a wake-up call. And it's an invitation. Welcome to the Death Readiness Podcast. This is not your dad's estate planning podcast. I'm Jill Mastroianni, former estate attorney, current realist, and your guide through wills, trusts, probate, and the conversations no one wants to have. If your Google search history includes, do I need a trust? What exactly is probate? And am I supposed to do something with mom's will? You're in the right place. When I was a kid, I was fast. Fast enough that by 8th grade, I was training with the boys' high school cross-country team. One day, someone made a joke, something about how I'd better be careful not to get too muscular or my mom would be upset. Because being fast was fine, but not if it meant taking up space in a way that wasn't feminine. You know what my mom did? She found me a weightlifting coach. And it wasn't the only time she pushed back. After I won a race in Schenectady, New York, a meet official told my coach that he almost disqualified me. Not for cheating, not for breaking the rules, but because my sports bra wasn't a solid color. My mom's response? What business does that man have looking at my daughter's underwear? That's the woman who raised me. Fierce, protective, done with the rules that were never meant to protect us anyway. And I've been thinking about that a lot lately, about what we're told to accept, to laugh off, to live with, about the things we carry that we never signed up for. And it's not just personal, it's cultural. It's the unspoken messages in the movies we loved. And today, we're naming them. Let's start with Groundhog Day, a classic comedy from 1993. A harmless movie we grew up watching over and over again. But if you rewatch it now, it feels different. And by different, I mean deeply uncomfortable. On the surface, it's the story of a cynical weatherman, Phil Connors, played by Bill Murray, who's stuck reliving the same day until he becomes a better man and wins the love of his coworker Rita, played by Andie MacDowell. But what if we told the story from Rita's point of view? A young producer's first assignment for a new job is to cover Groundhog Day. She starts the workday greeting her new coworker Phil, only for him to ask, "Did you sleep okay without me?" Then she finds herself stuck in a time loop with Phil, who continues sexually harassing her until he finally figures out how to manipulate her into falling for him. Phil doesn't just flirt. He pushes, he corners, he persists after clear refusals. He encircles Rita in his hotel room after she said she's tired. She wants to leave. It's going too fast. And still, he gets, or wins, her in the end. The message here is that no doesn't mean no. It means keep trying. Eventually, you'll wear her down. Now imagine what that message did for the boys who watched it, and what it did for the girls. I was 12 years old when I first watched Groundhog Day. This isn't a fringe film. It's a beloved classic. It taught us to laugh at discomfort, to see pushiness as endearing, to assume that if he just gets enough tries, he deserves a yes. This dynamic, the one in which a woman's discomfort gets played off as cute, as romantic, as the natural and expected friction in any love story, it doesn't stay on the screen. It plays out in workplace dynamics, in family expectations, in how estate plans get drafted, or more often, avoided entirely, because no one wants to rock the boat. We've been trained to swallow discomfort and overwhelm for the sake of everyone else's peace. Too often, we're handed the responsibility, but not the resources, and we're still expected to make it work. Now let's talk about Three Men and a Baby. This one came out in 1987. The soundtrack plays Bad Boy by Miami Sound Machine. The camera pans over a high-rise bachelor pad with a parade of beautiful women coming and going like room service. At one point, Tom Selleck's character Peter literally follows a woman who's jogging on the sidewalk. She ends up in his apartment, kissing him goodbye at the elevator. And it's framed as sexy, spontaneous, charming. Except it is never okay to follow a woman when she's out for a run. We teach our daughters to stay aware, to carry pepper spray, to be cautious. And then we turn on movies that reward that exact behavior when it's done with a wink and a mustache. Then a baby shows up at the door. And these men, grown, professional men, are absolutely helpless. What do? They start calling women. Because apparently, if you're a woman, you must know how to take care of a baby, even if you didn't sign up for any of this. Peter asks his girlfriend, Rebecca, to stay and take care of the baby. When she pushes back, he says, "Because you're a woman." And her answer, "That doesn't mean I automatically know what to do with babies." That's exactly it. Women aren't born knowing how to parent, how to navigate hospice, how to deal with Medicaid or funeral homes or deeds or long-lost insurance policies. But we're expected to just figure it out, to fill in the gaps, to stay late, to be the one who holds the baby and the grief and the logistics. And when we don't, we feel like we failed. But you haven't failed. The system failed you. Then there's Miss Congeniality. I saw it in a tiny theater in Old Forge, New York. I was a high school senior on my way to Stanford University. And I loved it. Sandra Bullock taking charge in heels, I was sold. So when my 14-year-old daughter and I were looking for a movie to watch on a recent Saturday night, I suggested it. And that's when things started to feel off. There's a scene in which Bullock and Benjamin Bratt's character are doing a workout, after which he slaps her butt. My daughter turned to me and said, "That is not okay." She's absolutely right. It's not. Then there's the moment when a group of male FBI agents use software to virtually strip their female coworkers to see who could pass as a beauty pageant contestant. When I was 18, I didn't blink. I expected the men in power to sexualize the women around them. I expected that if we wanted to be included, we had to accept it. My daughter didn't, and I'm so grateful she didn't. Because every time she names what's wrong, it chips away at the scripts I didn't even realize I was still following. Which brings me to Taylor Swift. Driving my daughter to school one morning, she queued up The Man. I'm not a music person. I usually listen to podcasts. But these lyrics stopped me. I'm so sick of running as fast as I can, wondering if I'd get there quicker if I was a man. If you've ever sat in a meeting and had your ideas passed over, if you've ever had to ask 3 times for a medical update, if you've ever followed up on the same task 5 times just so it wouldn't fall through the cracks, if you're expected to be the family Google, calendar, and pharmacist without being asked how you're holding up, you know exactly what that line means. You're doing the work, you're just not getting the credit, the pay, or the authority. And that's what death readiness is really about. Yes, we talk about wills and trusts and advanced directives, but more than that, we talk about agency, about not waiting for permission to take up space, about honoring what you want, how you want to be cared for, what you want to leave behind, what you will and will not tolerate. Together, we're rewriting the scripts. We're putting you at the center of your story. Now, I want to share what this work looks like in real life. Not in the movies, not a Taylor Swift lyric, but in the messy, everyday reality of real families trying to do the right thing. Just this week, I joined two of my clients. Let's call them Stephen and Sally for their initial consultation with a Nevada estate planning attorney. They're in their 70s. They tried to get their planning done maybe 15 or 20 years ago, but the attorney they met with rubbed them the wrong way. So they never followed through. Fast forward to now. Their daughter, let's call her Kate, is grown. Stephen and Sally are juggling grandkids, and they've got a kitchen renovation. But their estate plan was still sitting in the metaphorical junk drawer. That's where I came in. Stephen, Sally, and I met weekly over Zoom. We shared screens, verified assets, updated beneficiary designations. We downloaded insurance cards, tracked down old operating agreements. I located deeds and found an appraiser for a large coin collection. And I did a pre-consultation with the Nevada attorney I'd found. Just me and her, to make sure she was a good fit. But when it came time to schedule the appointment, Stephen and Sally didn't respond. They were busy. And I understand that. So I picked up the phone. I called Sally. I said, "Do you still want to move forward?" She said yes. I took her credit card information over the phone and scheduled the appointment myself. That's part of the work I do, not just translating legalese, but making the process doable, even when life is busy. Our meeting with the Nevada attorney was via Zoom. I could see Stephen and Sally's eyes glaze over as she explained trust protectors, discretionary trustees, and whether they wanted one. I jumped in with various clarifying questions to make sure I understood what she was talking about. The terms she used were different than the one I had used when practicing in Tennessee. And as the meeting wrapped up, Stephen looked overwhelmed. "This is a lot to think about," he said. I reminded him. He already knew more than he thought. The pieces were in place. We just needed to do some translating. The attorney was fantastic. She was organized. She sent thoughtful follow-ups, detailed attachments, and clear next steps. She did everything right. And still, it would have been so easy for Stephen and Sally to ghost the whole process. But that's not going to happen because they have me. Someone who knows their story, their assets, their pace. Someone who doesn't judge the delay, but helps them move forward anyway. Are you like Stephen and Sally? You know you need to get your estate plan in place, but it keeps falling to the bottom of the list. Or maybe you're more like their daughter, Kate. She adores her parents. She's brought up estate planning more times than she can count. And every time her parents deflected, delayed, changed the subject. Kate was so frustrated when she found out her parents canceled one of our appointments. She called me, and here's what I said to her. "Kate, if you get mad at your parents for canceling with me, then I become a burden. Don't make me a burden. Stephen and Sally are fine. I've got us. You don't have to manage this. You don't have to carry it all. That's part of the service too." I don't tell Kate what her parents and I discuss. My conversations with her parents are confidential. I know how heavy it can feel to be the one making sure your parents are prepared for the future. That's why it's such a relief when adult children like Kate can hand off that emotional labor. And her parents, they feel the difference too. They get to have their daughter back, not a project manager. This work isn't just legal. It's relational. It's about trust. That's why I created a free resource to help you take the next small step. Estate planning isn't intuitive. And do I need a will isn't as straightforward as it sounds. In fact, I have a will. But if my husband survives me, he might as well toss it in the trash. He won't need it. If you're curious why, head to deathreadiness.com/will, WILL, to watch a short, free video where I break it down. That's deathreadiness.com/will, WILL, And of course, I'll include a link in the show notes. So yes, I want you to feel confident about things like wills and what they actually do. But more than that, I want you to feel like you're not alone in all this. Because sometimes what makes the biggest impact is not a legal answer. It's a moment of being heard. That's what happened when I got a message from a listener named Karen. She told me about her father-in-law, a fit and active man who died after a cycling accident. In the aftermath, someone created a caring bridge site. Friends and family poured in with messages, beautiful memories, words of comfort, hope, and love. But in the haze of grief, Karen worried those messages would get lost. That's when her friend Victoria stepped in. She collected every post, and she gave Karen's family a beautifully formatted book with all of those amazing messages. Years later, they still read those messages. They still feel comforted. And at the end of Karen's email, she wrote, "You don't need to respond. I know you're busy. It just felt good to tell the story." But I did respond, not because I had to, because I wanted to. That's what this work is about, showing up, listening, witnessing. I help people carry the hard stuff. Estate planning, yes, but also the stories, the silence, the guilt, the grace. So if any part of this sounds familiar, if you're quietly holding it all together while wondering who's got you, you are not alone. If you've been meaning to get your estate plan in order, but every time you try, you end up overwhelmed or stuck, start here. deathreadiness.com/will, W-I-L-L. And like I said, I'll include a link in the show notes. It's a short, free, entertaining video that walks you through the basics of what a will actually does and doesn't do. Just straight answers from someone who gets how complicated this can feel. You don't have to map out everything today. Just take one small, doable step. deathreadiness.com/will, W-I-L-L. This is a really good place to begin. What if you thought you did everything right? You planned ahead, you created a trust, but now your kids aren't speaking. In the next episode, I talk with Sarah Eckline, a mindful fiduciary, about the unintended damage caused by very well-meaning estate plans and what families can do differently. This is Death Readiness, real, messy, and yours to own. I'm Jill Mastroianni, and I'm here to help you sort through it, especially when you don't know where to start.
Hi, I'm April, Jill's daughter. Thanks for listening to the Death Readiness Podcast. While my mom is an attorney, she's not your attorney. The Death Readiness Podcast is for educational and entertainment purposes only. It does not provide legal advice. For legal guidance tailored to your unique situation, consult with a licensed attorney in your state. To learn more about the services my mom offers, visit deathreadiness.com.